couple of months ago, my friend's sister bought herself a brand new smartphone. That evening, after coming home, she placed the device on the table and went about her chores. Her son noticed the phone and asked if he could play with it. She agreed, but told him not to call anyone or send any messages. The boy promised, and she trusted him. It was already past midnight when she finally finished everything and decided to go to bed. Certain that her son was already asleep, she checked his room and froze. The room was empty and the bed hadn't even been touched. Panicking, she rushed to her own bedroom. And there he was, fast asleep on her bed, still holding the phone. Relieved, she gently took it from his hands. Then she decided to check if everything was okay with her new device. Looking through it, she noticed only small changes. He had set a new wallpaper. Then she opened the gallery and saw that he had taken dozens of pictures. She began deleting them one by one until only a single photo remained. When she looked at it, she couldn't believe her eyes. It showed her son sleeping on her bed. But the picture had been taken from above, and in it you could clearly see the blurred left side of an elderly woman's face. This happened in April on a Wednesday. My mom and stepdad had gone to the mall for groceries, and my sister and I stayed home, watching a movie in her room. It was around 4 p.m. Outside, everything felt strangely quiet. Usually weekdays are noisy, but that day the world seemed still. I should mention that I've always been sensitive to things beyond the normal world. I've experienced strange phenomena before. My sister, on the other hand, always laughed it off. She never believed me, because she had never felt anything herself. We were watching the movie when suddenly my sister started calling for our mom. I asked why. She knew perfectly well our parents weren't home, but she insisted, "Mom's in the bathroom." I knew immediately that couldn't be true. When my mom comes home, you always hear it. The door, her footsteps, her voice calling out, "Where are my kids?" But this time, the house had been completely silent. My sister kept insisting. She jumped up and said, "No, seriously, check the bathroom. I saw her go in." I told her, "If you need to check, go ahead." But she was too scared to go alone, so we went together. Of course, the bathroom was empty. I thought maybe she was messing with me. But then I saw something. Move into the bathroom. Before I could even say a word, my sister leaned close and whispered, "There it is again. You see it too, right?" And she started crying. She was 18. I was 23, and she was the one terrified. I quietly shut the bathroom door, and we went back to the room. The movie was still playing, but neither of us was watching anymore. During my final year of college, I witnessed the strangest thing that has ever happened to me. We were traveling back by bus and made a quick stop at a roadside gas station so people could use the restroom or grab something to eat. It was late, around 10 at night, and we still had a couple of hours before reaching the city. The place wasn't completely isolated, but at that moment, there was no one there except us. I went to the restroom last. I had stopped by the smoking area first, then the store. Inside the restroom, toward the back of the building, I noticed a woman wearing something that looked like a wetsuit. It felt strange, but I didn't think much of it. When I stepped outside and headed toward the bus, I saw her again. She was standing next to a parked car. And then, with one hand, she lifted it. Just lifted the car. like it weighed nothing, and quickly pulled something out from underneath it. I froze. At that moment, she turned and looked straight at me. She had long black hair, but I don't remember her eyes. I don't think there was anything unusual about them. It was the look itself. I had never felt fear like that in my life. It was so intense. I could feel every hair on my body stand on end. I ran back to the bus. Everyone stared at me. I told them what I saw, but no one believed me. A few people went outside to check, but the parking lot was empty. We were the only ones there. I never told this story again, because I know no one would believe it, not even me, if I had heard it from someone else. My sister has something in her house, something that's been following her for years. We live in different cities, but once I came to stay with her for a few months during the holidays. During that time, so many strange things happened that I still can't explain them. Whenever I brought it up, she would just shrug and say that her ghost doesn't like that I'm living there. It was always causing trouble. Every night before going to bed, I made sure everything was normal. Doors closed, lights off, curtains shut. But every morning I would wake up to find the door wide open, the lights on, and the curtains pulled apart, as if someone had been moving around the room during the night. One evening, we were getting ready to go out, and I asked to use her foundation. I used it and put it back exactly where it belonged. 10 minutes later, she asked for it, but it was gone. She blamed me, made me buy her a new one, and refused to listen to anything I said. About a year later, when she was packing to move, she found that same bottle inside a shoebox filled with old letters. The box had been zipped inside a suitcase under her bed. But the scariest moment happened during the day, when I was home alone for the first time. I came back from the store and went straight to the bathroom. All the doors and windows were closed. I stood in front of the mirror, picking at a blemish on my forehead, and suddenly, a woman's voice from the hallway said, "Stop picking at your face." It was loud, clear, completely real. I thought it was my sister, laughed and said, "Leave me alone." Then I asked what she wanted for dinner. No answer. I stepped into the hallway. No one was there. I searched the entire house, but found nothing. I ran outside and sat on the porch until my sister came home. I just couldn't stay in that house alone. After finishing school, I went to college and moved in with my grandmother. I was 16. She had recently lost her husband, and she was happy not to be alone. My room was in the basement. I chose it myself. She slept upstairs. She also had a German shepherd named Lottie. I arranged the room the way I liked. I placed the bed in the center so I could move around it freely. One night, I woke up freezing. It wasn't a normal cold. It felt wrong, deep, empty, like something lifeless. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I opened my eyes and saw a wall right in front of me. My bed had been pushed up against it. I turned sharply. There was a figure standing in the doorway. The only way I can describe it is like colored light, like a prism shining through fog, forming the shape of a person. Behind it, there were shapes, like wings. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stared. The door behind it kept opening and closing, as if nothing was standing there at all. When I finally managed to say something, I whispered one word, "Leave," and it disappeared. I started crying, uncontrollably. I couldn't even get out of bed. I called for my grandmother. She came down with Lottie. The dog began whining and pacing in circles. My grandmother looked at me and calmly said that she had seen it too, an angel, and that I shouldn't be afraid. Nothing strange ever happened again, but I always felt like I was being watched. My grandfather had died in that house, and the only explanation I have is that he was watching over me, but instead of comfort, I felt fear, and that feeling has never really left me. This is a story I rarely tell. It left a mark on me for life. I've tried to explain what happened that night, but nothing has ever felt convincing enough. As a child, I was afraid of the dark. Whenever I didn't want to be alone, I told my mum I could hear voices in my room. They weren't kind or cruel, just unfamiliar, and that was enough to scare me. I often woke up in the middle of the night to whispers. Each time they sounded different voices, different tones, as if they belonged to many people. Sometimes I was so afraid that I would run to my mum's room to sleep. One New Year's Eve, I did exactly that. In the middle of the night, I woke up needing to use the bathroom. I stepped into the hallway and heard a whisper, "Look." I looked down the staircase and saw a red light. It was bright, like a spotlight, shining onto the wall at the bottom of the stairs. There was no source, and as a child, I thought it was Santa. I started walking down the stairs to see him, and then I heard another voice, a man's voice, clear, firm. "Stop, right now, go back upstairs." I froze, then turned around and went back up. At that exact moment, a loud crash echoed through the house. I ran back to bed and hid under the covers. In the morning, everything was a mess. Decorations torn down, pictures ripped from the walls, but nothing was stolen. No one had broken in. Then I saw 3 deep scratches on a wooden frame. Something had grabbed it and thrown it. After that night, I never heard the whispers again. But even now, I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't stopped. There's a certain hour in a taxi driver's life when the city falls completely silent. It's not midnight with its drunk crowds, and it's not the early morning rush when workers head out for their shifts. It's that deep, heavy stretch of night, somewhere between 3 and 4, when the city seems to slip out of time. The streets are empty. Street lights spill dull orange light across the wet pavement, and it feels like you're the only living person for miles. That's when I picked him up. My old sedan rolled through puddles, tires whispering against the asphalt. The rain that started earlier hadn't stopped. It turned into a cold, steady drizzle. I was about to call it a night, head back to the depot, turn in my shift, and drive home, when I saw him. A figure by an old bus stop. No shelter, just a sign and darkness. He stood completely still. Didn't try to hide from the rain, didn't wave. He just stood there, and something about that felt wrong. I slowed down. Instinct told me to keep driving, but work is work. I rolled down the window. "Where to?" No answer. He opened the back door and got in. The car dipped slightly, the door shut. I glanced in the rearview mirror. A dark coat, old-fashioned, soaked. His face was hidden in shadow beneath a lowered hat, but I saw his hands, pale, long fingers, perfectly still. "Address?" I asked again, keeping my voice steady. Silence, just rain tapping on the roof. I felt irritation creeping in. "Look, I can't drive you nowhere. Tell me where to go, or I'm dropping you off." Then he spoke. His voice was low, dull, like it came from underwater. Old Riverside Cemetery, main gate. A chill ran through me. That place had been closed for decades, out past the industrial zone. People didn't go there. But a fare is a fare. I nodded, started the meter and drove. He didn't move the entire ride. I checked the mirror again and again. Nothing. No movement. No breathing. Like a mannequin. And the cold. It wasn't normal. It seeped into the car. Into me. Even with the heater blasting. Unease turned into fear. Raw, instinctive fear. I drove faster. Just to end the ride. Industrial zone. Rusty fences. Broken factories. Empty windows. Then I saw the gates. Old Riverside Cemetery. I stopped. We're here. That'll be $12. No response. I turned around. The back seat was empty. I blinked. Still empty. The door was closed. I got out. Checked around the car. No one. Just rain. And black trees behind the fence. I got back inside. My heart was pounding. And then I saw it. A coin. Old. Dark. I picked it up. It was ice cold. I drove away. But something felt wrong. And then I noticed the first taxi. I pulled into the darkest, most confusing backlot I could find, killed the engine, and turned off the headlights. I sat there without breathing, listening. Silence. Just the sound of my own heartbeat and the rain. I reached into my pocket and took out the coin. It was no longer freezing cold. It was warm now, almost hot, and faintly pulsing in rhythm with my fear. A mark. That's what it was. A mark. That passenger, whatever he was, had marked me. And now every available taxi in the city, every empty shell under his control, could see me. I had become their new passenger. Someone to be delivered. Delivered to the final destination. That cemetery. Dead. And then it hit me. If there was a mark, there had to be a way to remove it. If there was a beginning, there had to be an end. The curse had started at those cemetery gates. Maybe that's where it had to end. I had to return the coin. Give it back to whatever had given it to me. It was a crazy plan. Walking straight back into the lion's mouth. But I didn't have a choice. I couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, they would find me. I started the engine. The dented side of the car groaned in protest. As I pulled out of the lot, I saw them immediately. 3 cars, parked across the street, their green available lights staring straight at me, waiting. I slowly pulled forward, turned around, and drove, not away from them, but toward them, toward the industrial district, toward Old Riverside Cemetery. And that's when the real hunt began. It felt like every empty taxi in the city had gathered there. They weren't hiding anymore. Engines howled, brakes screamed, high beams blinded me. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of cars. They formed wedges, tried to ram me, forced me toward the edges of the road. I sped through the streets while, on both sides, this ghostly armada raced alongside me like an escort of death. My old sedan took hit after hit. The windshield cracked. The side mirror flew off. But the car held together. I gripped the wheel with one hand, the warm coin clenched in the other. I didn't look around. I just stared straight ahead at the road leading either to survival or to the end. The industrial zone. There it was. Rusted factory skeletons watched me with empty windows. The taxis grew more aggressive. One sped ahead and tried to turn into me head-on. I swerved, cutting across abandoned railroad tracks, the car jolting so hard my head slammed into the ceiling. And then I saw it, the familiar turn. Ahead, in the dim light of my remaining headlights, The iron fence and locked gates rose out of the darkness. I was back. I slammed on the brakes just a few yards from the gates. The pursuing cars closed in, forming a tight, unbreakable circle around me. Dozens of headlights turned night into day. Then, silence. Engines died all at once. They just sat there, waiting. I knew I had only one shot. I opened the door. Cold air hit my face. I stepped out, gripping the coin tightly in my fist. Instantly, every taxi blasted its high beams on, blinding me. Their engines roared back to life as they began to move. Slowly, deliberately, tightening the circle, preparing to crush me along with my car. I ran. Half blind, stumbling, I sprinted toward the gates. The grinding of metal behind me grew louder. I reached the fence and shoved my hand through the cold, rain-slick bars. "Take it," I shouted into the empty darkness beyond. "I brought him." I opened my hand. The coin slipped from my fingers and rang against the ground on the other side. And in that exact moment, everything stopped. The lights went out. The engines cut off as if someone had flipped a massive switch. Every car froze in place. One by one, the green available lights on their roofs went dark. Absolute silence fell, pure, untouched, broken only by the sound of rain. I stood there, back pressed against the fence, gasping for air. The circle of cars around my sedan was no longer a threat. They were just metal. Empty, lifeless vehicles abandoned in the road. Some with shattered headlights, others dented and twisted. Soulless wrecks. Slowly, I walked back to my car. My old sedan was wrecked, but it had survived. I got behind the wheel. The suffocating, grave-like cold was gone. It was quiet, normal. I turned the key. The engine coughed and started. I didn't go back to the taxi depot. I went home. At dawn, after leaving the ruined car in the yard, I climbed up to my apartment. I threw my taxi uniform down the trash chute. The next day, I filed my resignation. No explanations. I never drove a taxi again. Sometimes, when I'm walking down the street and I see a white cab with a glowing green available sign, I freeze. A chill runs down my spine. I stare into the dark windshield, and for just a split second, it feels like there's no one behind the wheel, but they don't follow me anymore. My ride is over. I delivered my passenger and gave back the change, and I'm grateful I didn't have to join that ghostly fleet, forever circling the night streets, searching for the next soul.